Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
She was, as woke as they are.
She just sounds bitter and angry.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
I don't think they're going to buy it. I don't think they're going to watch it. I don't think they're going to like it.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
I don't need your business. Thanks.
You know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
If Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office, they are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea.
Free will is an illusion, because everything, even behaviour, every thought, every emotion, derives from what went before. I agree, determinism, if that is true, no one is accountable for their actions. Yeah, that's true. But then the quantum leap people make is, well, if no one's responsible for their actions, everyone should be able to do anything they want. That's not true. Because a bear isn't responsible for its actions, is it? If a bear, you're in the wild and you go up to a bear and whack it and it eats you, that's not responsible. It's a bear. That's why it does that. So we act accordingly. We stay away from bears. So it doesn't mean that anyone, because they're not responsible, you can't just let a serial killer run around because he wants to. We have to do something to protect other people, because we've invented human rights. But yeah, it's a hell of an illusion though, free will. I mean, you can't get around it. It's impossible to imagine that you haven't got free will. Because it's not whether you can make a choice, because everyone feels they can make a choice. Lift your right arm up or your left arm up, that one. But it's you couldn't choose your choice, because you couldn't even choose the question, you couldn't choose the bit before, you couldn't choose cause and effect. So you can't choose. We're sort of like vessels. But that doesn't mean that morality doesn't exist, because that's the thing we've created and we like, because we feel that we want to live. I mean, even creativity. You can't sit down and go, right, I'm gonna write a joke about. You can't choose your thoughts. But what you can do is go, right, I'm not gonna answer the fucking door. I'm gonna put headphones in. I'm gonna go for a run. I'm gonna make myself an available vessel for an idea.
And accusing Disney of inserting unnecessary feminism into classic fairy tales.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that
she's
is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. No, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
These big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
It's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
They have been making this film for a very long time because it's just been so scandalized. And so they had to basically put it on ice after people were firstly outraged by Rachel Zegler speaking ill about the prior film, the film that she was remaking.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney? I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story. It's a love story.
Interview clip that you read the quote from, but she's gone on to talk about this film numerous times, how she once thought Snow White was creepy. She doesn't like the prince. She thinks she should get paid more because she has to wear that dress. She should get paid for streaming. For every hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
I always think that about those sort of things. Like, I'll go back in time and witness that. But in real time, it might be, I always think there's scientific ones, I think I've talked about this before, like when Einstein came up with E=mc², but he probably did that over months. I'm sort of like I'm invisible ghost in his study, am I, when he's fucking there for days. He's going I'm going MC², but he can't hear me. And he has a little wank break. I'm going, fucking hell. Fuck's sake. Oh, God. Einstein, he probably had to, you know what I mean? It's going, I've been fucking thinking all day. Have a little bit of me time. Oh, God. Right. George Clooney definitely wouldn't talk about Einstein having a little wank between E=mc². Right. Oh.
Then they got even crazier and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough, okay?
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me.
Right.
And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right.
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures.
One of them. Fucking hell, this was a load of bollocks, wasn't it? This is like being in a mental home. No offence. Right, there you go. That's another load of bollocks. I hope you enjoyed that. There's can of water. Buy can of water. That's quite a serious thing actually, because they're made from aluminium, so it's 100% recyclable, and we're trying to stop people use plastic bottles. Not only do you get loads of fucking nano plastics in your fucking brain, right, but people, they don't recycle it, they throw it in the oceans and it's clogging it up. Whereas this is 100% recyclable and sort of inert and everything. So, yeah, buy a can of water. And Dutch Barn. Cheers, everyone. Be nice to animals. Tatty bye. Tatty bye.
Also, like, super.
I'm offensive. Is that a crime? Yeah, being offensive is a crime. Being offensive is a crime now. What is this? Did you say it is? Are you joking me?
I have a video.
Is that a joke? Being offensive is a crime. I just heard you say that. What's your badge number? What is your badge number? What is your badge number? Tell me what your badge number is. What is your badge number? Thank you.
You came into the election promising to smash the gangs. We've heard this kind of language before, smash the gangs, stop the vote, and it's always more difficult than the rhetoric. I mean, how many gangs have you smashed?
Well, I don't think any public policy is easier than the press release. Of course it's not. We've made 4,000 interventions against organised crime since we took office. Every time that makes it that little bit harder. But, the more... 4,000 interventions against people smugglers. That could be arrests, that can be disrupting a sale of a boat, 4,000 interventions against organised crime type activity.
It's quite hard to know. I'm asking how many gangs were smashed. That's what you promised in the election, isn't it?
Well, this is a process that we'll deliver over this parliamentary term. I know your viewers, as you do, as I do, want to see those channel crossings reduced. The way to do that is, as I say, by making our countries more attractive than the rest of Europe to come to. We're making changes to bring us into line. We also know that people think that they can't be removed when they do get here. That's why we're removing more people. And people also think that they're going to be able to transit parts from around the world to then assemble and use in the channel. Well, this today is to disrupt that. So it's all of those things together.
This isn't the news. Okay, let me tell you now, this isn't the news. Anything you hear on this, I'm honest, but it might not be factual. I'm honestly stupid.
We manage our differences, we take our opportunities, and we constantly think, how does this deliver for people back at home?
Keir Starmer's critics like to call him Never Hear Keir. I can tell you it's not a nickname he much likes, but he is off again on his international travels, and today he has arrived here in China. And I don't need to tell you, when there's a bit of a leadership crisis, party and mutiny back home, being 5,000 miles away is probably not ideal. It's been a really difficult January for Keir Starmer.
But I think we've got an administration in America who understand China is public enemy number one. In Britain, Keir Starmer seems to be oblivious to that. Right. Although we now hear this morning that he's been selling out British soldiers, he's sold out British Islands. As I say, he is king of capitulation.
He is. So, I mean, we'll get to that story in a moment on the front page of the Telegraph, which I think is shocking, that he actually worked for free to prosecute British soldiers from Iraq to try and make them be found guilty of war crimes. But do you fear then that his trip to China on this mission is going to put Britain in an even worse place than it is today?
Yes. And he's not going to get anything out of it. The Chinese are famous for signing deals that they don't deliver on.
Right.
Look at all the commitments they make at these climate change conferences, and then the next week they've built 10 more coal-fired power stations. Right. You cannot trust a word they say or anything that's written on paper. And he is just having the wool pulled over his eyes.
Right.
And I think he kind of knows that. I think he's just desperate.
Yeah.
He's the most unpopular Prime Minister in British history. Things are not getting any better. He is clutching at straws for something that will somehow magically save the British economy, even though he's busy killing the British economy through things like net zero.
Right, let's get to the point. Right, so I wasn't going to do this. Then I thought, it's been another miserable day, raining, and I thought everyone's a bit fed up at the moment. Well, maybe they're not. But you sort of get the feeling it's dragging on a bit, isn't it? There's people arguing, not just about this, but politics. That's always going on. But the world's sort of divided, isn't it? It's really is two tribes. There's no nuance anymore. It's you've got to have a team as opposed to deal with every subject individually. People overlook errors and terrible things on their own team and go after errors on the other team, not realising it's hypocritical. Everyone's a little bit fed up and divided and angry. So I thought I'd sort that out because I'm an actor, and what the world needs is actors' opinions about politics and philosophy. Imagine there's no heaven. Fuck's sake.
And future.
Gutted, because he's now the Prime Minister and he's getting troops done. He's literally going for troops that are doing the job.
Look at these two. These men now run our country. What kind of a man works for free on a case that led to investigations of British military heroes? How have they ended up in charge of our great country? The mask has slipped for Sir Keir Starmer over this. He used to want to abolish the royal family.
I often used to propose the abolition of the monarchy.
The brass neck of this snivelling little human rights lawyer to say this just the other day.
I consider President Trump's remarks to be insulting and frankly appalling. And I'm not surprised they've caused such hurt to the loved ones of those who were killed or injured.
Look, of course he was right to say that about Trump, don't get me wrong. But now it turns out that he worked on a case that opened the door for more criminal inquiries into our brave veteran.
In my estimation, they are qualitatively different. What Hamas is publicly what it's doing is genocide. What Israel's doing is not genocide. You and I have talked about this war in Gaza for ever since it started, this phase of the 75-year conflict. And I have resisted going as far as you have done in your criticism of the Israeli government. I resist no more. I think we've reached common ground about what we view is happening and has been happening through this period of this blockade, which frankly is just starvation of the people there, including so many innocent young women and children. And I think that the incessant bombing and killing, and we don't know how many civilians have been killed, but it is on a daily basis. It looks like hundreds of people every day, with no apparent attempt, it seems to me, to have any real plan for how this ends or what happens when it ends, other than if you look at what Smodrich has been saying, probably the most right-wing member of a very right-wing government, he is talking in a genocidal language about kicking all the Palestinians out. So I think you and I have reached a place in the last few weeks where we are in agreement. But my question for you, Mehdi, is how does this end?
Just have to rule idiots out of your life. There's loads of idiots on social media, but there's loads of idiots on the high street. You just have to see them coming, I suppose. If someone's walking along the street with their shirt off shouting, cross the road. Same with social media. Block them, avoid them. They don't exist.
Benjamin Netanyahu, when he quoted Amalek, the scriptures, what does Amalek say? He quotes Amalek when they attacked the Israelites. And what God told the Israelites to do was to destroy kill every man, woman, child, and livestock. If, I would put it to you, an Islamist leader was quoting a similarly genocidal passage from the Quran, you would not, I would say,
Can I respond?
Hesitate.
Can I respond?
We haven't, you've had a lot.
Respond to that
I'm
point.
going to respond just quickly. Israeli officials said that Gaza will end up being a city of tents with no building standing, that they are attacking for damage, not for accuracy. The agricultural minister, Avi Dikti, he said we are rolling out a new Nakba. A Nakba is the mass expulsion, 700,000 Palestinians in 1948. This is why hundreds of genocide scholars, people who are actually, unlike you and I, experts in the field of genocide studies, fear that a genocide is taking place.
Two things spring to mind: greed and stupidity. And when they're mixed in amongst 8 billion people, that is an amazing cocktail. Greed and stupidity, I'd say. And they work very well together. As an enemy to mankind. Greed and stupidity.
So the difference between Israel and Hamas is Hamas does not have the capacity to wipe out Israel. Israel is wiping Gaza off the map. That's the point.
You've actually exposed the weakness in your argument. Israel does have the ability to kill everyone in Gaza tomorrow, and they're not doing it. In fact, well, hang on. What they're doing, and it's indisputable, they are issuing a number of warnings repeatedly to people to go south. Wait! And stay out of northern Gaza, right? And then they're pulverising it with airstrikes, and now they've gone in on the ground and they're waging battle with Hamas fighters, terrorists, right? No, hang on. So my point is this. Israel could, if they wanted to, kill everyone in Gaza. They decided not to do that.
Is your definition,
so they're not, genocide is where you want to kill everyone.
Sorry. Your definition of genocide, because in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin hasn't killed every last Ukrainian. That's simply not happened. No, he hasn't. And nor has he stated his intention to do so, and nor as brutal and barbaric.
Vladimir Putin, absolutely, by illegally invading a sovereign country and indiscriminately bombing anything in front of him.
Indiscriminately bombing?
Is waging a form of genocide.
Wow. Indiscriminate bombing. Gaza. More than 2 Hiroshima bombs worth have been dropped on East London in the space of 5 weeks.
Okay, let me ask.
I sell my tours out on social media. It saves me doing interviews and stuff, I suppose. But it's not important in the greater scheme of things, is it? I mean, it is like reading every toilet wall in the world. But, you know, you don't have to do it. It's virtual. If you don't like it, don't go there. But it's funny, isn't it, how it took off? It sort of makes sense because gossip is in our evolution. We used sort of gossip to, you know, control the tribe. Because the point is we want to raise our status. We want to be respected. You know, that's in our evolution. And the way you sort of raised your status is two ways. Be good at something, be competent. People would say, oh, he's a good hunter. He's good for the tribe. And the other way was virtue. Oh, he's not a great hunter, but he's kind or whatever. And then social media comes along and people can raise their status without meeting anyone by doing good content, or virtual signaling comes along as well, because people can suddenly go, oh, I'm virtuous, we've got no proof. They can be an absolute horror. But as long as they put the right things in their bio, everyone thinks, oh, they're good, they're a good person. So, but, I mean, it's just it's been a good tool for me as well as an observational comedian, because before social media, I'd have to actually bump into mental people. Now I can just listen to them from the safety of my mansion.
Poll about whether Piers Morgan is in fact a useful idiot of Israel. Now, it's important that people are aware of the following information when they make the decision on the poll. Piers Morgan's show is, while he claims it's independent, it is still something that happens under the auspices of Rupert Murdoch's News Corp International. Now, Rupert Murdoch has a long relationship with Netanyahu, which is, of course, well known. But there's another aspect to Piers Morgan's show which far less people know. His show is sponsored directly by ExpressVPN. Now, ExpressVPN, the sole owner of it is Cape Technologies. Cape Technologies is an Israeli company owned by Israeli billionaire Teddy Sagi. Now, during the war in Gaza, Teddy Sagi has given $3 million to Israeli soldiers, and he also provided $250,000 to help transport Israeli military personnel during the genocide. His co-founder at Cape Technologies is Kobi Menachemi, who was previously an employee of the Israeli spy group Unit 8200. And also the CEO of that organization, Cape Technologies, was previously Ido Ehrlichman, who was a soldier in Unit 217, the Duvdevan unit. They call them Musta'arabin. They go disguised as Arabs to carry out intelligence operations and assassinations against Palestinians, as we have seen a plethora of this sort in the recent period in Gaza, in Jenin, and other places. And the current head of accounting at Cape Technologies, very likely to be the person who allocates funding towards Piers Morgan or any of the other podcasts who are also sponsored by the Cape Technologies company ExpressVPN, is Liron Peer, who is also an alumni of Unit 8200. So here we literally see Piers Morgan, probably unbeknownst to him. I think he's completely aware of Rupert Murdoch's inclinations and associations, but I don't think he's so aware that ExpressVPN is a Cape Technologies owned enterprise, and Cape Technologies is literally directly related to the Israeli military. You also have to remember that Teddy Sagi owns Camden Market. So I think that if you were looking at boycotting, Camden Market would certainly qualify with this relationship with Teddy Sagi. We are really at a new juncture with all of this. You have the liberals of yesteryear who did Israel's bidding in the attritional war against Corbynism, where they cancelled everything that moved or breathed in a pro-Palestinian direction, today hand-wringing and in disbelief about Israel and its butchery against the people of Gaza. And there is really a bitter vindication in that for all of us who have really given so much sweat, tears, and actually blood for the Palestinian cause across these decades.
I'm sorry to say it, but I've known 12 prime ministers in my lifetime, and by a country mile, Boris Johnson is the worst. His natural instinct is not to be open, not to be transparent, not to be accountable, but narcissistically to think, what suits me? How can I extricate myself from this awkward situation? By what means can I arrogate blame somewhere else? This is way below the standard that the British public are entitled to expect. And when people say, well, isn't it important that we focus on the big issues rather than on wallpaper or the cost of a flat? I suppose the answer to that is this. If there isn't a basic level of trust in the most senior minister in the government, it's very difficult to operate a democratic polity at all. That's the problem. This guy stinks in the nostrils of decent people.
So the Prime Minister didn't spot that he was at a social event. That's the excuse, isn't it? Come off it. I mean, how stupid does the Prime Minister think the British people are? The worst of it is, he's already managed to completely destroy Allegra Stratton's career. He's tarnished the reputation of Lord Geit, and now he's making fools of every single MP who cheered him earlier. Every single one who goes out on the radio and television to defend this shower of shenanigans. Would it not be absolutely despicable if, in the search for a scapegoat, some junior member of staff ends up losing their job, but he kept his?
I'm grateful as ever, Mr. Speaker, to the right honourable gentleman. I think a former member of the Conservative Party, as I understand it. But I'm grateful to him for his party political advice. I don't agree with him, Mr. Speaker. I've come to this House to make amends, to explain what happened on May the 20th and to apologise. But, Mr. Speaker, I really think that, with all humility, I must ask him to wait for the result of the inquiry, where he will have abundant opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to question me again and to make his party political points again. But until then, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ignore his advice.
We've got our rules. Unless you're the Prime Minister. Political satire, isn't it? I don't get political. I feel like it though. I'm getting angrier and holding it all in more and more. Even live, I don't really get political. I think I've been naive. I've hit that age where I go, well, they're all fucking lying, shitty little fucking corrupt twats. It was just lying in their own part, and I just think I thought there was good guys and bad guys, but now I just think they're all little fucking shits. Is that political? Is that some really nuanced insight into the workings of society? Greedy little fucking posh twats. Good. That's why I don't get political.
But wait. But here's the slippery thing. You said you had no intention, but now you concede that actually, yeah, I might have been planning to take this child to meet Stephen. So you admit that that's what you were trying to do.
That annoys me. I would go around going, where are you from? You don't live around here. I'm over here every day. Get back in your car.
You used to be a veterans minister, didn't you?
Never happened.
Did you? Yeah. Yeah, we're all veterans. And do you know what? It makes me absolute sick that you had anything to do with our armed forces.
I haven't done anything.
Did you know what? You are atypical of the rot that is the problem with this country, and it makes me sick to my stomach that it's people like, don't interrupt me, it makes me sick to my stomach that it is men like you who have been running this country in the past. You should be ashamed of yourself. Don't interrupt me, Ivor. You've been at the top of this country, running the country, part of the government, part of Tony Blair's government. You were a veterans minister, and all the time, I would imagine you... Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Predating on children.
You better not get too close, because that'll make me...
And then that's his bag as well, if possible. So I told you to get your bottle of water back. And sweets. Right, I'm just going to search you before we go in there, okay? How many layers have you got underneath this? The sweets in there as well. 3. Oh, that's muggy. The sweets in the bag as well. There's nothing, there's no pockets. That's my phone. And what I'm going to be doing, okay, is I am going to be seizing your phone at 12:38. Okay, and for the purpose of that is I believe it holds evidence on that device. Okay, so I'm placing it in evidence bag.
I don't have time to adumbrate the wickedness of these people. And as a believer in right and wrong myself, I have to believe that it is not a coincidence that the biggest supporters of Zionism in the Western world are almost always, with 1 or 2 exceptions, are almost always the most repugnant individuals. And that certainly covers Ivor Kaplan. He was one of the main authors of the so-called anti-Semitism, fake, hoax anti-Semitism allegations that hunted Jeremy Corbyn to his political grave. And that's important, whether you like Jeremy Corbyn or not, because it was the destruction of the Corbyn Labour Party that led to Boris Johnson, with global implications. 1 million people, more than 1 million people have died in Ukraine. Boris Johnson played a central role in that. He would never have been the Prime Minister if people like Ivor Kaplan, former MP, former Defence Minister in Tony Blair's so-called Labour government, if Corbyn had survived the assault, and he made many mistakes in the ways that he tried to deal with it, mainly by throwing his friends under the bus, feeding them to the crocodiles in the hope that the crocodiles would eat him last. But that's a story for another day. Kaplan and co. in the Zionist industry that is central to the political life in this country now and the media life in this country now. Want to know how I know that? This Kaplan story I'm telling you now has hardly had a breath of publicity after weeks in which Pakistanis and Muslims whose names nobody knew were plastered on the front of every newspaper. But a man at the centre of Tony Blair's Labour government is caught out in the way he was caught out. It can't even get on the news. That's how I know that this cult of Israel has become the dominant cult in political life in Western countries. And that is an issue, a story, a narrative that is as true in the United States, where many of you are watching now, as it is true in Britain, as it is true in Germany, as it is true in France and other European countries.
When comedy was sort of like laughing at ourselves, satire was more hopeful that it was going against power and to change things, exposing stuff. So they're vague sort of definitions, but I don't subscribe to the rules, what you can and can't joke about, or what's right and wrong. Because people are different as well with what they say and do, and what they joke about amongst themselves that they wouldn't do in public because it can be taken wrong. So it's not really about principle, I think. It's about polite society more than anything, the rules of comedy. And I don't think there are really. You can't help what you laugh at either. So if someone tries something funny and someone says, well, you can't laugh at that because of this, you go, well, I just did. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's too late. I did. Hope you're well. Stay safe. Keep active. Hey, Siri. By David Brent, Life on the Road. Still good. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely week. Tatty bye, everyone.
Hello. My name is Thomas Crooks, and it has always been my passion to create and build things of my own. Today, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my academic goals, my passion for building things, my love of cooking with my family, and lastly, what I hope to achieve in this course.
Why did that guy try to kill Trump and almost succeeded? Why did he do that?
Well, I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, but
that one's crazy. You know the whole deal with that guy's house, professionally scrubbed, no footprint on the internet, no social media footprint.
Consciousness is a byproduct of the function of the brain, isn't it? A brain is basically a physical computer, right? That we've evolved intelligence to problem solve. That's why you've got a brain, apart from keeping everything sort of going, is to solve problems, isn't it? It's to find food and mate and all that sort of stuff. So we're just a computer, and consciousness is an upshot. It's called an epiphenomenon. So, so suddenly with this amazing computer where it's just meant to solve problems, we can suddenly introspect and have worries and have anxieties. And part of that that's evolved is a sense of humour, presumably to get us over stuff, to see things in a different way and, understand.
Why did that guy try to kill Trump and almost succeeded? Why did he do that?
Well, I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, but
that one's crazy. You know the whole deal with that guy's house, professionally scrubbed, no footprint on the internet, no social media footprint.
Yeah, there's 0% chance that he has no social media footprint.
We don't know anything, right? And everyone stopped asking questions, and there was never a formal report. There was never press conferences where they detailed all the information that we know currently and where the investigation stands at the moment. What we know is you have a very young kid who was filmed. They knew he was there with a rangefinder a half an hour before the event. You also know that CNN streamed it live, which I do not believe they did for any other rally, and certainly not for a rally that's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. Like, there's a lot of weird shit. The fact that they wouldn't let people be on that roof because the Secret Service lady said it was sloped and it was dangerous. That's what she'd want to have. Meanwhile, the snipers that were on the other roof was a steeper pitch. It made no fucking sense.
I totally agree. It makes no sense. In fact, I went back to Butler with President Trump, before the election, sort of like the Return to Butler rally. And I was on that stage, and I'm looking at that roof, and I'm like, if I was a sniper, my pole position, my number one spot would be that roof.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not?
No, it's so obvious.
It's the best seat in the house.
And
like, if you want to be a sniper, there isn't a better position.
It was pretty obvious that the idea was, like, if we're saying that this is a coordinated assassination attempt, and it very well could have been, that's what you would do. You'd have someone go up there, he shoots the president, you shoot him, you got Lee Harvey Oswald all over again.
JFK
it's over.
Repeat.
It's all wrapped up nice and clean. They assassinated him. We never heard a peep about it. We don't have any idea. They would concoct some sort of story. He was radicalized by this or that, or, he was on medication. Who knows?
Right.
And now, you have a completely different presidential election, and you have a murder on live television.
Power, isn't it? It's good to have a sense of humor. It's good to have people with a sense of humor in society. So it's sort of a way. It's sort of like, I heard one theory once that chimps sort of groom each other. That makes them feel better, makes them feel safe. And then when tribes and society got big, you couldn't do that individually, so you had doing it with language. And I think comedy is a part of that. A group of people getting together, laughing, the world's okay. Same growing up. If if you're having a laugh, if people's taking a piss, things couldn't be that bad. You know, whatever you had, if you had a problem, a mate would take the piss, it must be all right. It's when they stopped taking the piss that you knew you probably had an hour to live. And even then you go, oh, they've only got an hour to live, I better keep taking the piss so they don't know they're dying. So you just keep taking the piss right to the way they die. And even when they slip into a coma, still draw a cock on their face. Oh.
Random passersby were pointing out that there's a guy on the roof.
With a fucking gun.
With a gun, yes.
Yeah, it's not like he was so far away you couldn't tell he had a gun. People saw him.
Yeah.
The whole thing's completely insane.
Yeah.
And you don't hear a goddamn thing about it. It's like, I'm almost more interested in that. No, I am more interested in that than I am the JFK files.
I agree.
Because I feel like with the JFK files, it's so long ago.
Yeah,
everyone's dead. Who's going to know?
Right.
If you could prove now, and did you see that there was some sort of, there was some indications that there was a phone that had been traveling from outside the FBI offices in D.C. to
I saw that.
where this kid lived.
Right.
Multiple times.
I mean, I don't know there's anyone you could choose to have a head in a jar for eternity that after, I was going to say after the first 1,000 years, but I mean, they'd be annoyed with me after the first 30 seconds. They'd be regretting their decision straight away. So I'm just a head in a jar and I can talk somehow. Oh, fuck me, it'd be horrible, wouldn't it? Oh. No one. I mean, I know that would be bad, being a head in a fucking jar. I mean, again, it would wear off, wouldn't it? There's a limit to how much fun you can have. That's a fucking head in a jar. Oh. Someone who wouldn't drive me mad. Probably someone quiet. If I wanted to talk, I'd talk. They could just nod. They can't even nod. They're a head in a jar. They can do that. Someone with eyebrows. Otherwise you wouldn't know whether they're listening or not, would you? Fucking hell.
Welcome back to Jake GTV News. Candace Owens is being hunted by the French First Lady for calling him a dude.
Wow, how have we not been canceled yet?
I have no idea.
Are you not afraid in a earthly, motherly way for the potential consequences of what you're saying? But also, bloody hell, mate, are you not a bit worried that you might get murdered?
There were, for whatever reason, 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground at Utah Valley University the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This has completely spooked the people that are very high up in government. Now, to be clear, I don't mean that there were 12 VPNs that were switched and routed through Israel on that day. I mean that there were 12 personal cell phone accounts that were opened in Israel, okay? Like you go into Verizon in Tennessee or in Connecticut and you open your phone. I am saying that they opened their phones in Israel, those accounts in Israel, and they were on the ground on September 10th at Utah Valley University when Charlie was shot.
Where is the corroboration? What are we seeing that's indefatigable? What are we seeing in the case of were Israel involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Is there some connection to Israel? Do you think the nationhood of Israel is fundamental in even issues as seemingly diffuse and only really connected through you know, and you being the person that's reported on them, as Brigitte Macron's true identity and Charlie Kirk's murder? Do you think these things are connected?
Yes, I think it's all connected. And I think in many ways we already live in this one world government system. Maybe it's two world. But in terms of the West, I don't think there's any difference in the governments. And that's kind of the point that we're making. And maybe why the Charlie Kirk case is so crucial, because it's showing us that, wait, what is the divide here between America and Israel and France, right? I just told people that somebody in the French government alerted me to an assassination attempt. Shouldn't that require a comment from the President of the United States? Shouldn't the President of the United States be forced to make a statement about that? He received that information. Wouldn't you think it was the most viral global story for 3 days, and the White House has chosen not to comment? What does that signal to the population? that it's okay for France to be involved in attempts, that they're, at least if he thought that I was completely making it up and I gave him the evidence and it was made up, he would be required to come out and say, we are looking at that situation and that there's nothing here. There's no evidence of that. They're doing none of that. And that should alarm people. That should very, very much alarm people.
Somebody directly involved in the booking process has confirmed to me that the Egyptians who flew to Provo ahead of the Charlie Kirk assassination were staying at the La Quinta Inn and Suites in Orem, Utah.
If Charlie had died in an accident, I don't think it would have had the same impact, but they chose to publicly execute him.
I don't know. It's in us all, isn't it? I mean, some people shy away from it. Some people, they don't want to talk about grief and terrible things because they think it's sort of off-putting, or sometimes it's too distressing, or it's not that sort of thing. I like going there because it's something you can do that no one else can quite do. You know, no one can play your version of emotions like you. If you do it honestly, then that's as good as it can be. So, you know, and I don't know, I just feel like I want to be braver and more honest. So, you know, you just go there. Just sort of go there. Otherwise, you know, things stay taboo if you don't confront them. So, I've always liked realism, I guess.
Can you explain that to me? Because I don't understand who benefits from. But I also know that whenever I've seen it my whole life, a long gunman, RFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. I know that's a lie, so I'm open. So what is it?
So look, I can tell you that from the moment that Charlie got shot, and I can't explain it, and maybe it's because Charlie would tell me all the time that he was going to die young, and I showed those messages, and I just knew that this was big. I knew it was big. I didn't have the players. I certainly didn't suspect Turning Point USA would be, as I believe, involved in a cover-up. And we can talk about what the motives are of that. They could be financial motives. It doesn't necessarily mean they were involved in plotting to kill him. And I've never said that. But I do believe that they have betrayed him since. And I am comfortable saying that today. Because I know that they have told lies. I know that they have withheld information that if truly you were motivated by goodness and truth, you would come out and you would say it. Like there are people at Turning Point who Charlie texted the night before and said they're going to kill me. Well, if you're trying to figure out who killed Charlie Kirk, wouldn't that be a good thing to come forward with and to the public and say Charlie thought that he was going to be murdered the night before? And they're not doing that. So to me, to not assist that investigation is not something that I'm going to ignore. Also, to not answer basic questions that if I said to you, Russell, where were you when Charlie got shot? You're not going to get defensive and weird. You're just going to, I can tell you where I was. I was sitting plotting, planning my next show at the kitchen counter, and they are being very strange about details on that day. It makes me uncomfortable. If someone, the easier task, if the internet thinks that, Mikey McCoy, who was the person who, instantly picked up the phone and walked away when Charlie got shot, who was the chief of staff, if people find that behavior to be suspicious, and I do find it to be not what I would do if a shot went off. Obviously everybody else ran or ducked and he instantly picked up a phone. I would just show my call log and I would be like, guys, this is crazy. Like I called my mom and and so it's the absence of answering and the blaming and the yelling that feels off to people. And I think that's fair. I think spiritually people are sensing, their intuition is coming online and saying, this just doesn't feel right. So you have to ask the question, why lie? And I think that just any lie at all makes me feel uncomfortable because lies are not necessary unless you're covering something up. No matter what the lie is, why do we lie? To cover something up. So that's a fair assessment that they're engaged in some sort of a cover up, whether it's about his legacy, where he was at spiritually. And then you have to ask deeper questions. Why? Sure, like I'm lying when I very lightly in reminiscing about me and Charlie mentioned that, our last conversation.
Hey, everyone. Candace Owens has certainly been a hot topic of conversation over the past couple of months on social media. I would say ever since Charlie Kirk was tragically murdered back in September. And I'm not going to comment on some of her theories and the things that she said about that and about the Macrons and other people. If that's what her thing is, then that's what her thing is. She certainly, seemed to want to become the #1 podcaster, so she created a lot of controversy. That's what does it seems. But here's what I have to say. Her husband Why would he allow her to do this? Because she is really getting a lot of hate mail. A lot of people are turning on her, really putting her in a situation where people are hating on her. Why would you allow your wife to be put in that position? I would never put my wife in that position, not for social media, not for money, not for anything. To be so hated? I mean, she's out there, she's in public. You know, she's claiming now that the Macrons have, a hit out on her. They want to assassinate her. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about just normal people on social media that have really turned on her and really have spewed hatred out on her. Why would you allow your wife to be put in that position? I hold him fully responsible. I would never put my wife in that position to where people hate on her so much because of what she's doing on social media. I think that's, 100% wrong on his part. And I don't know what their motive is. He's got plenty of money. They don't need money. It was him that I believe caused her to leave the Christian church and become a Catholic. It's still Christianity, but, she turned to Catholicism. He seems to have a lot of pull over her. Why would he put her in jeopardy like that? I hold him 100% responsible if something would have happened to her. Any lunatic could take a shot at her for whatever reason. But she set herself up for it. No one to blame but her, and I hold him responsible. I hope nothing happens to her, but in my view, 100% responsible, not manly, not what a husband should be doing, not one bit.
Also, bloody hell, mate, are you not a bit worried that you might get...
My greatest fear is not getting into heaven, because I actually am a Christian, and I question the Christians who lie, who choose to lie because they are so attached to the earthly possessions that they are getting in terms of money. My bigger fear is my children growing up in a world that's run by pedophiles. That terrifies me. And to be clear, I did not go into this consciously, right?
Yeah.
When I was covering the Brigitte and Emmanuel story, if you thought that I would end up here and suddenly questioning whether or not Brigitte could have been in America on that day, which is where I'm at right now, you're out of your mind. I mean, I literally thought, oh my God, this is so funny. Like, this is like
funny.
Yes, like this person, like I read the story and it was quite literally, this whole thing starts with a Daily Mail article where I saw a headline that Emmanuel Macron denies his wife's a man. This had not broken in the English speaking world. So I was like, what a strange little, what's going on in France that this president has to come out and deny that his wife's a man? Like, that's funny. And I read the article, and the Daily Mail article was not sufficient in debunking it. It was kind of, and this is obviously ridiculous and crazy, and all of the words. And they're like, there's this one photo or two photos of Brigitte as a child. And I'm like, what do you mean as a child? Like, there should just be tons of photos because she has children. And so then I pivoted to where the rumors came from, and I sat there and I read, and my jaw hit the floor. I was like, what do you mean there's just no photos for 30 years of somebody's life? This can't be a real thing. And I thought this was so interesting that the implications here for me that I thought were more severe is that the entire media of France would collude to hide this very obvious thing, right? So it was more like, this is funny. And then I get fired from a Daily Wire almost, I think, 2 weeks after covering that story. Covered it in March. I got fired in March of 2024. The next thing I know, I'm fired. I start my new podcast. I get demonetized on YouTube. They're hitting me over speaking about the Brigitte thing again. And come December, I'm getting a cease and desist from the president of France. And then come February, I'm getting a phone call from the president of the United States. And I'm going, what is going on? People kind of had a base assumption that people in France are into some weird stuff. Nobody had an assumption that this could cause an international crisis.